sure that you complete both your 15-minute paper number 4 and that you also complete your reflection post number 4. Remember that you do have that grace period of submitting until Saturday at 11:59 p.m. in case you are running late, but your assignment will be subject to half credit, so make sure that you remember that. Let's be mindful of submitting our stuff on time and all of that. Also, I wanted to remind you all that on Sunday, I believe your new module will be opening. And not only do you have to read chapter 5 by next week and complete the work for week 5, but you will also be looking at the guidelines of your interpersonal paper and presentation. So make sure you read up on that. You look at the presentation and paper guidelines, you look at the different theories and start getting an idea of which one of the theories you would like to use for your actual paper. Because once, I will be basically allowing you to pick your theories on first come, first served basis. And like I said at the beginning of the semester, I usually don't like to have people repeat theories just because I think that if we have too many people doing the same theory, the information gets a little bit redundant during the presentations. So usually the maximum amount of people that I'll have during one theory would probably be 2. So just be mindful of that. And if you have a theory that you feel really passionate about and that you really want that one and you want to stick with that one, let me know ahead of time so that I can write your name down. Once I have everybody's choice of theory, I will write a list online and I will let you know who's doing what theory so that we all have an idea of which theories are taken, which ones have been discussed, and all of that. So I just wanted to go through that. So today we are going to be talking about confirmation and disconfirmation. Today we'll have a real short lecture, which is really nice because I'm dealing with this horrible allergic reaction from chalk. I am allergic to chalk, and at CSUN, we're teaching face-to-face, and I have to use chalk in a classroom. So I had to spend an hour and a half with chalk yesterday, and I can barely breathe because my reaction is so bad. So please bear with me. Anyways, so let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about confirmation and disconfirmation, and just a quick, summary of what we went over on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we talked about the principles of verbal language. We talked about how verbal language, basically what we refer to as verbal messages, are messages that are both oral and written, and they have to be actual words, right? So we talked about how laughter and vocal fillers such as and all of that, that's not considered a word. It has to be an actual word that is either spoken or written. That's what we consider verbal messages. We also talked about the different principles of verbal messages. So we talked about how verbal messages can deceive, how verbal messages, are packed. So we also have to take into consideration the nonverbal aspect to be able to interpret the message accordingly. We also talked about how verbal messages have denotative and connotative meaning, and we used the example from the movie Mean Girls to show how certain words, even though they have a literal meaning that we can find on the dictionary, they also have an emotional meaning attached to it. So that's just a quick recap of what we talked about on Tuesday. So today we're going to talk about this idea of confirmation. So when we talk about confirmation, we refer to how you acknowledge a person when they're speaking to you, and you acknowledge both their presence, their verbal messages, and you show them respect. So for example, let me take you back a couple weeks ago when we did the nail in the head, reflection post, which was week number 2 of the semester. And one of the things that we could see in the video of the nail in the head was the fact that, there was very little confirmation going on at the very beginning, because we see the man and the woman, right? The man was, very distracted by the woman's, by the nail in the woman's head. And the woman wanted the man to just kind of acknowledge her feelings and listen to her, to what she was actually saying. And he was focusing so much on the nail on the head, which it was obviously distracting, but he was focusing so much on that he dismissed, the message that she was sharing with him, what she wanted him to understand and feel. So there wasn't a lot of confirmation until when we got to the end of the message, right? When he actually started saying, I understand how you feel. I get where you're coming from, right? And we kind of saw that example play out. So confirmation would have been, what he did at the end of that video, where he actually started to acknowledge her feelings, acknowledge her frustration, and understand where she was coming from. The opposite of confirmation is disconfirmation. And when we talk about disconfirmation, disconfirmation refers to a type of communication that basically ignores the other person, the presence, ignores their message, just like basically doesn't acknowledge the other person. And unfortunately, in a lot of interpersonal relationships, one of the things that happens when a relationship starts to kind of like unravel and fall apart is that we fall into this pattern of disconfirmation. So we kind of like ignore the other person. We don't give them respect. We don't listen to them. We ignore their feelings. So for example, let's take this as an example. So let's say you're going, you and your partner are not doing okay anymore. And you're kind of like weighing whether the relationship should continue or it should end. And one of the things that start happening is that, you know, let's say that your partner starts coming home late and you're waiting for them and you don't know where they are and you're getting angry at them for coming late. And when they come home, you tell your partner, hey, you know, like, I've been waiting for you. Like, I've been worried. Like, where were you? And your other partner's like, that's none of your business. Like, don't even worry about it, right? That would be an example of disconfirmation because they are ignoring your concern as a person, the questions that you're asking them and the information that you are requiring from them. They're just ignoring it. So that's an example of how disconfirmation plays a role in an interpersonal relationship. And even like, you know, even if a relationship is going okay, and let's for example, okay, so again, I'm going to keep on coming back to the whole bridal party wedding that I'm being part of because I am just seeing all of this stuff play out. So an example that I saw of disconfirmation happen this past weekend for this wedding that I'm part of is that one of the ladies who is a bridesmaid for the wedding kind of like, you know, wanted everybody to purchase their, you know, their green Christmas dress online, right? And she wanted everybody to purchase it online. And she's not the bride, mind you, she's just the bridesmaid. So she was telling everybody, oh, you need to purchase this dress online. It's cheaper, it's more efficient. We don't have to get together. We don't have to like go to a particular store. You just like get it online and that's it. And the other bridesmaids were saying, hey, you know, like, we are not comfortable with that. We would rather go see the dress, try it on, see how it looks on you, which to me doesn't even make a difference because it's like a Christmas green dress. So it's going to be hideous regardless, but whatever. So people were wanting to go try it on, see how it fits on each other's body. And she kept saying, no, like, she was saying, no, we need to do it online. It's much efficient, better. And she kept like kind of like turning everybody down and ignoring everybody's like reasonings for wanting to go to the store in person to try it on. She even ignored the bride, who is her best friend. She ignored her, like what the bride was saying, the concerns that she wanted to go and see the dress. So we saw a lot of this disconfirmation happen. And this lady, she actually like this whole pattern of disconfirmation in friendships and just in relationships has something that has been going on with this lady since like, you know, I used to be best friends with her in high school, and this stuff was happening in high school. And mind you, like, we are in our 30s now, so it's been going on for a really long time. And a lot of people have like made it, I mean, I made it known to her that, you know, this was a pattern that she was having, like when our friendship was falling apart, right? I was letting her know that, you know, you never acknowledge the other person, you never listen to what we have to say, but it seems like she never changed. So I'm dealing with that right now. And I'm dealing with this disconfirmation, you know, this like ignoring us, not taking this into account. And it's really frustrating. And as you can see, this is how like relationships can turn tense. It can lead to a lot of conflict. It can lead to like really like, you know, a downfall on a relationship if we continue this pattern of disconfirmation. So I have a clip, obviously, because I always have clips for everything. And I want you to tell me, how do you see either confirmation or disconfirmation in the clip that we're going to watch below?
From Good Thing She Bought Extra, Rashida.
This one's a goner.
To always needs to end on a zero, Rashida.
Oh, hey, you totally distracted me. That's not fair. What?
The new City Custom Cash Card automatically adjusts to where your spending is trending.
Exchange has such perfect eyes.
Oh, you're so wonderful. Oh, thank you.
Here's to us.
To us. Elle,
Yes.
one of the reasons I wanted to come here tonight was to discuss our future.
And I am fully amenable to that discussion.
Good. Well, you know how we've been having all kinds of fun lately.
Yeah.
Well, Harvard is going to be different. Law school is a completely different world, and I need to be serious.
Of course.
I mean, my family expects a lot from me.
Right.
I expect a lot from me. I plan on running for office someday.
And I fully support that, Warner. You know that, right?
Absolutely. But the thing is, if I'm going to be a senator by the time I'm 30, I need to stop digging around.
Warner, I completely agree.
Well, that's why I think it's time for us. Elle. Pooh Bear.
Yes.
I think
I
we
do.
should break up. Well, I've been thinking about it, and I think it's the right thing to do.
You're breaking up with me? I thought you were proposing.
Proposing? Elle, if I'm going to be a senator, well, I need to marry a Jackie, not a Marilyn.
So you're breaking up with me because I'm too blonde?
No, that's not entirely true.
Then what? My boobs are too big?
You boys are fine.
So when you said that you would always love me, you were just sticking around?
No, I do love you. I just can't marry you. You have no idea the pressure that I am under. My family has 5 generations of senators. My brother's in the top 3 at Yale Law, and he just got engaged to a Vanderbilt, for Christ's sake. Bad salad. Sweetie. Bluebear? It's not like I have a choice here, sweetheart. Okay, you get the car, I'll get the check.
Awesome. Okay, so going back to the topic that we were talking about, how do you see that in the video? Like, how do you see the confirmation and disconfirmation play out in the clip that we just saw?
So I guess for me, the biggest thing that I noticed like off the bat was like both people had like different ideas of what was going to happen. So I don't know what was the girl's character name, but then pretty much she was thinking like, oh my God, he's gonna propose. Whereas for him, he was thinking, oh man, she already knows that I'm gonna break up with her. So like already I feel like there's bound to be some sort of disconfirmation because like both people are already like expecting 2 different results. And I think we kind of see that once like he breaks it down to her, like he's trying to break up with her, but then like he wasn't really like realizing like, hey, she was actually expecting like a marriage, and like he wasn't really addressing that. Where because I'm pretty sure like if someone was to like expect that and all of a sudden you just drop the bomb on them, that's pretty bad. And so you kind of see her like hyperventilating and like pretty much like just all around like having a bad time.
Thank you, Cabin. Yes, you can totally see that, right? You can see it both ways. You can see that there's like, there's like more disconfirmation from his side to her side, because we see him kind of like, you know, her telling him like, you know, I thought you were gonna propose. Like, what about like the fact that you told me that you love me and all these times that we spent together, all the things that we did. And he's like, well, you know, like, I have to focus on my career and like my family has all these expectations and all that stuff. But yeah, he kind of like kept dismissing like her, you know, her feelings and how she could have gotten the wrong message through all the actions that he took. And she wanted him to address that and he didn't. And he also like didn't like address her emotions. Like he was trying to make excuses like, you know, it was a bad salad or something like that. And it's interesting because again, like disconfirmation doesn't have to be something like super bad. It doesn't have to be super like aggressive or anything like that, as we saw in the clip. It can be something like really simple as just not acknowledging how the other person feels. So there are different types of disconfirmation language, and we are going to talk about it. So the first one is racist language. So obviously anything that singles out a group of people based on their skin color, that will be racist language. And I mean, hopefully, you know, like when we are in a relationship or when we are having a discussion with another person, we are not using this type of language. I would like to think that, you know, nobody in this class does. So racist language is hurtful because, again, it hurts, like it dismisses the other person's feelings and emotions, and it just like dismisses the person as a human by just focusing on, you know, the color of their skin. The next, it will be ageism. So discriminating anyone or addressing anyone or insulting anyone on the basis of their age. As we can see, like a lot of language, you know, like can be like disrespectful to like people who are like older and all of that. I mean, one of the things that I've seen, and there's a discussion going back and forth, and we were talking about this in my argumentation class about like the hashtag or the okay boomer slang word. A lot of people are saying that, you know, it's just a slang word. It's not meant to like be disrespectful. It's just a hashtag that came up because of like, you know, older people having like very, you know, very like set beliefs and not willing to kind of like change their beliefs. But if you look at it from the other perspective, it can be insulting to someone who is much older if you just like say like, you know, dismiss their opinion by saying like, okay, boomer, right? So it just kind of like goes back and forth depending on how you interpret it. Next, heterosexism is another type of disconfirmation of language. One of the things that we have learned in the past few years is that we can't really determine how the person, like, you know, the personal pronouns or how a person wants to be addressed or how a person identifies. The best way to kind of like navigate that area is just asking the person how they want us to refer to them, how they identify, so that we don't make the mistake of insulting them and using that type of disconfirmation language. Next, sexist language. Sexist language is like, you know, one of like the most horrible ones that exist. Like, and we have been trying to like trying to get rid of like sexist language. So for example, it's like you like talk to a female and like saying, oh, like it's because you're a woman, you wouldn't understand, or something like that. Make sure that we avoid that type of language. Again, it's dismissing the person, the feelings of the person, dismissing the actual person, and just focusing on one characteristic of that person. And what I have here is like words hurt people. And even though we would like to think that, you know, like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me, words do hurt. They do. So let's be careful with what we use. And again, remember the principles of communication, right? Communication can never be reversed, repeated, or it can never be taken back. So that's one of the reasons why we need to be careful with the type of verbal messages we send out there, and that we're respectful of others. So the whole thing like sticks and stones may break my bones and words can never hurt me. I don't think that's like true anymore. Obviously, words can be really hurtful. Let's be careful. Next thing that we're going to talk about is using verbal messages effectively. And I believe this is my last slide for today, because like I said, it was a really short chapter this week and it's a really short lesson. So how do we use verbal messages effectively? There's one principle that is called extensionalize. And basically what this refers to is just looking at people for who they are. So like looking at the person for who the person is, like their essence, their actual personality, as opposed to what they seem or look like. So again, that kind of like goes back to what we were just talking about like disconfirmation types of language, like racist, sexist, ageist language. Make sure that you're addressing people for who the person is and not based on stereotypes or judgments or first impressions that you have based on what they look like, what they identify as, or, you know, like what you kind of like interpret from them. Again, that ties in with the second one, which is like see the individual. So like just because you had a bad experience with, and I often hear this, like, you know, sometimes when I get together with girlfriends, they're like, oh, you know, like, all men are the same. All men that on Tinder are the same, you know. And obviously I have, you know, heterosexual females, right? They're like, all men are the same. You know, they are, you know, they're bad. They're cheating on Tinder and all that stuff. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, or like on dating sites. I'm like, first of all, you haven't met every single person who's there, so you can't think that every single person who's in that who's in a dating site is bad. I mean, if you're on Tinder, isn't that like a booty call type of thing? So I mean, that kind of be like, that's kind of expected. So I wouldn't be finding love on Tinder. Although I will be telling you a story when we get to like the love part of the chapter about a student of mine who met her husband on Tinder. Really random, but it was a true love story. So yeah, just like, don't say like, oh, all men are the same, or if you had a bad experience with like, an athlete, or if you had a bad experience with, a really like, pretty girl, or like a very good looking person, you cannot like just judge everybody based on one experience that you had with another person. So just see the individual. Also, distinguish between facts and inferences. So know what is actually true. Until you know one thing is actually true, until you know something is actually true, do not take it as true. So one of the things that often happens when we interact, yeah, that could, perfect, Rachel. So that could also fit under the term of generalization. So basically just avoid generalizations. So again, just like to talk about what we were like discussing, again, distinguish between facts and inferences. So like, for example, if you are heard like through the grapevine certain things about a person, you can make an inference, or you can make like a guess or a generalization about what that person is like. But until you actually like know for a fact that it's true, you can't take it as a factual thing. So I have, again, like with the same woman that I'm telling you about with the bridal party, the one that ignores everybody else, she would literally when we all went to high school together, just to give you a background. So she thought that my husband, when we were in high school, or like just even recently, even before my husband and I started dating, she thought that my husband had been in love with her for years, and she kept telling this to everybody like if it was factual, right? And she was making inferences because like one of these days, like a couple like weeks ago, my husband and I were having like a late night conversation, and I was like, did you even like this lady like when we were in high school? And he's like, no, like who said that? Like I never liked her. He was like, I liked you, not her, in high school. And I was like, then why does she keep telling everybody that you liked her, and everybody thinks that you liked her? And he's like, I don't know. So that's an example of like distinguishing between facts and inferences. You heard the saying of like, if you lie to yourself like so many times, or you tell a lie so many times, it becomes true. That's kind of like what the problem with inferences. You can't be telling yourself a lie so many times that you pretend that it's a factual thing, but you won't really know until you actually know the truth. The next thing that I want to bring up is the idea of avoiding polarization. So polarization refers to the idea of like black or white categories. So it's you're either right or you're wrong, you're either good or bad, right? So it's this thing of either or. When I teach this in argumentation, we talked about polarization as being a fallacy, meaning that it's not a proper, it's an erroneous train of thought, because they're usually in every single thing, usually there's more than one choice, right? It's not either or, it's not you're against us, you're with us. It's not really like that, right? There's usually multiple choices. Obviously in some things there's a yes or a no answer, but in the majority of things, there's like more than like one option, more than one opinion. So for example, like, you can say things like, oh, like you're either like a good person or you're a bad person. You're either right or wrong. Like, not necessarily like that. Again, with the whole situation with this, like, with this woman with the bridal party, obviously I can, there was no such a thing as either like, you go like shopping and buy the dress in person at that particular store, or you go online. Obviously there were so many choices, but because she was so focused on her option, she made it seem like her option was the right one, and then every other option would be wrong. And we want to make sure that we avoid that, because we are dismissing other people's opinions, other people's perspectives and value system. Maybe some other people, have had bad experiences shopping online, and they have bought dresses like, when you buy stuff from Amazon and it looks like really pretty, right? Like on the picture. And then when you get it, it looks like you're wearing like a potato, like, potato sack, right? And that has happened to me because I decided to test that out a couple weeks ago. And I bought this dress that looked gorgeous in there. Oh God, it's horrible. It's horrible. So she was dismissing everybody's opinions and experiences and value system by saying that her way was the right way. So her way or the highway. We want to make sure that we avoid that. It's dismissing again the other people's emotions and feelings. So we want to be careful with that. And that, people, it is all for today. This week's chapter was super short. And if you have any questions, you can ask any questions. Yes, Patricia.
Yes, I'm sorry, Professor Menjivar. Can you please repeat the first part when we just first started about what's gonna happen? I heard Sunday midnight, and my son came here and he was trying to drop some water on some electrical stuff that I have here so I can concentrate. What was the announcement you make? I'm so sorry about that.
No, that's absolutely fine because I know a couple of you came in a little bit late. So what I was saying is that this week on Sunday midnight, you will have your module number 5 open up for week 5. And besides having the quiz and the reflection post that you have to submit for next week, you will see the guidelines for our first big paper, which is the interpersonal theory paper and presentation. So what I was saying is just to make sure to go over the guidelines. Alongside the guidelines, there will be a list of interpersonal theories that you can choose from to write your paper and to do your presentation on. So make sure that you look at the list and that you kind of like research them, get a feel for which one you would like to do. And then you can let me know so I can create a list to know who has chosen or who has been assigned to each one of the theories, because I don't want more than 2 people to do a particular theory. So that's everything that I said, Patricia.
Thank you. How long will the presentation be?
So the presentation, so again, like I have like way more details on like the assignment, but the presentation is not going to be more than 4 or 5 minutes. And the paper is just going to be between like, I believe 3 to 5 pages, something like that. And it's just going to be analyzing the theory, like who was the scholar that came up with it? What does the theory look like in practice? Give me a particular example, and just that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Obviously, I'll have more details on the guidelines that breaks it down little by little, but that's basically the general gist of your paper.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You're free to go.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Professor. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.